Hey guys, it's Braxton from Spirit Systems, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Thing 3. So we're going to start at the beginning with the Thing 1 and the Thing 2. So shortly after John Carpenter's The Thing in 1982 came out, Spirit Systems launched the Thing 1 and the Thing 2, which were similar expansion platforms for the microfight chassis and other placards, but with very different sets of accessories and capabilities compared to one another. The Thing 1 was effectively a set of ultimate expander wings. It had some capabilities as far as single column MOLLE and some additional laser cut holes for routing cables or routing shock cord to retain critical communications equipment, whether it's PTTs, KDUs, and there was some additional routing capability through the actual body of the Thing 1. This was a highly specific platform for expansion. So essentially it allowed dudes who needed to carry 2 radios and some gunfighting equipment in the middle. It's a great platform for that purpose, but it was just highly specific and didn't really have any additional capabilities beyond expansion for double radios. The Thing 2 was effectively a sister product to the Thing 1, very much in the vein of Dr. Seuss. It was Thing 1 and Thing 2, and they were 2 highly similar products, with the Thing 2 being the more general product. It had 3 columns of MOLLE on each wing. This is single-sided in the sense that you'll only be able to attach pouches onto the front face here. Both the Thing 1 and the Thing 2 require the use of a placard or a microfight chassis, something along those lines, to actually work on a harness, which again, that'll become relevant when we get to the Thing 3. PRIC 163 or PRC 163 is a pretty beefy radio, and that did not come along into mainstream circulation until after the Thing 2 was designed, produced, and in mass circulation. And that radio was putting excessive pressure on these eyelets, and these radio pouches were not adjustable in terms of radio thickness or width. You only had the retention methods seen here to retain the radio from the top, but the size could not be modified. So when we ran into modern radios that were putting excess pressure on a critical component of the rig, we reevaluated that and made the appropriate changes with the Thing 3 to hopefully future-proof that issue. This is the Thing 3. So Thing 3's construction is primarily going to be Tegris running through the core of it, as well as squadron laminate. So for practical purposes, whether it's hydrophobic, hydrophilic, whatever the scientific term is, the Thing 3 does not absorb water. So as long as you're not putting any pouches on there that have different properties hydrophobic-wise, the rig itself is not going to retain any water. And it's not going to have any issues with drainage because the rig is mostly slots and holes. So from that standpoint, you're good to go with maritime or nautical stuff. From top to bottom, the buckles that are going to ship with your Thing 3 are split back repair buckles. So you can leave these on and use this rig as a standalone Rhodesian style continuous chest rig. Or if you are integrating something like a microfight or another placard, you can remove these buckles and you will use it just like the Thing 1 and Thing 2. You will route them through these loops here, and they will secure to your harness, and the whole rig will be anchored via the fat straps connecting to your placard. And this will just kind of be a connecting piece. We've expanded each wing by 1 column, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the difference between being able to mount 3 column and 4 column pouches or 2 column pouches, it's pretty big in practice. You're very limited when you are restricted only to 3 column wide pouches. There is now MOLLE on the front as well. So that's a critical part of you actually being able to use this as a standalone rig. So you do not need to use a placard, a microfight, micro chest rig of any sort to use the Thing 3. You can absolutely just use this as a standalone chest rig platform as sort of a skeleton to add pouches to as you please. A critical point is that the MOLLE is on both the front and the rear, continuous across the entire rig. And they are usable simultaneously, which we'll display on some other loaded out Thing 3s. When pouches are on the rear face of the rig or pouches are on the front face of the rig, they are not stealing that real estate from each other. As a pouch is attached to the rear face, you can attach one on those same columns to the front face because there's a Tegris divider running down the rig, giving you basically a mirror effect, kind of like the Molle HLT or the Molle tubes cummerbund, being able to mount pouches on the outside of your side plates. Same basic mechanism with that divider. And then your sandwich is still the same. So this one's just a little more centered in terms of the sewing rather than being behind the rig, like the Thing 2, for example, behind the rig. Thing 3 is just dead center right here. So it's still gonna accept sacks, the hook, lunch boxes, anything that you wanna hang from there. So in terms of features, I suppose one of the biggest features of the Thing 3 is there aren't that many baked into it. It's a giant Molle exoskeleton with the ability to integrate with placards in our existing harness system. So you can configure this rig an infinite number of ways. You're no longer restricted to just using a microfight or another placard of similar size. For the front portion, you can absolutely use this just for Molle pouches and use the included male repair buckles to hook into a harness. And you basically just have a dedicated Molle chest rig at that point. However, you have just as much Molle real estate on the rear that can be used at the same time. Still have your subloads, so you can put an immense amount of stuff on here or not. That's completely up to you. Obviously, if your intent is to scale back and forth between a microfight that is on a carrier, or you're moving it to your Thing 3 for doing things unarmored, or you're just wearing the micro rig standalone on the harness, that's gonna lend itself best to moving between platforms rather than unrouting pouches and moving them across rigs. So something to keep in mind if you're trying to keep a central load carriage solution the same between different platforms. You may have identical pouches on your Thing 3 that you have on your plate carrier. Obviously the layout might be a little bit different, but if you're just delineating between work that requires armor and work that does not require armor, the Thing 3 and a microfight chassis, whether Mark 4, Mark 5, or whatever other placard you're using, allows you to just move from host to host. So I think ultimately the Thing 3 is just an optimized host for whatever configuration you want to put it in.